Good morning. Good morning. All right, for this opening song, normally I would ask you all to stand, but we're going to try something new because we released and let go a lot. So we're going to try a new song today. Is that okay? And there's going to be a part that says all. That's when you all join in. But stay seated and let's make sure it happens. And if it doesn't happen, we'll never do this song again. How's that? Welcome into this place. Welcome into this open vessel. You desire to abide in the presence of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our hearts unto this place. Creation declares your glory, and the universe declares your majesty. Yet you choose to abide in the presence of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our hearts unto this space. Welcome into this place. You are welcome into this open vessel. Yet you choose to abide in the presence of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our hearts unto this space. Welcome into this place. You are welcome into this open vessel. Yeah, you choose to abide in the presence of your people. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our hearts unto this space. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our hearts unto this place. So we lift our hands and we lift up our voice as we offer up our love unto this place. As we offer up our love unto this place, as we offer up our hearts unto this holy space, as we offer up our love unto this space, as we offer up our love unto this holy space.
Roderick can pick them, can't he? Wow, Roderick, thank you very much. That was wonderful. So welcome to Unity Church of the Hills here in our sanctuary, and to those of you who are joining us online, welcome to Unity Church of the Hills, this wonderful space, place, filled with love and with grace and with wonderful people. Is anyone here for the first time? And if so, would you be willing to raise your hand or stand up and let us stand up for just a moment so that we can see you? No one. Okay, that's all right. It was a rough week, and people may still be moving logs and limbs and things like that. So what we'll do is we'll offer a blessing to ourselves, to everyone here and everyone online. I'll start, and you can repeat. To everyone, we welcome you. We bless you. We love you. And we behold the Christ you are. Now, to make that sink, get to know your pew partner, unless you're already spoused to them. Say hi to someone in front of or behind you or next to you or somewhere. Glad that you're here.
Did he come up?
Not yet, not yet. Now, Reverend Tony Roebuck, would you join me up here? Yeah, let's hear that. It's such a wonderful bio, and while I typically don't like to read things, this is worth reading. You wrote it well. Tony is a spiritual coach, teacher, unity minister, spiritual counselor, and a clinical EFT practitioner who has served clients around the world. He has served unity churches in two of my favorite places, Charlottesville, Virginia, and Austin, Texas, and in between, Everett and Woodinville, Washington. He's been a frequent guest speaker and a workshop leader throughout the United States. With a background and education in psychiatric social work as well as ministry, Tony has practiced and taught healing, abundance, and law of attraction techniques for more than a long time.
At least a week or two.
There you go. Through his years of coaching, spiritual counseling, ministry, and emotional freedom techniques, EFT, Tony has developed gifts of intuition. Actually, when I called and asked him if he would speak, he said, I knew you were going to call. Understanding and awareness, intuition, understanding, and awareness. These gifts are used in practical and down-to-earth ways to empower children, youth, and adults in producing their desired healing and abundance results. Currently in private practice, Tony's clients experience breakthrough results in a wide variety of areas in their lives, including health, relationships, business, career, performing arts, and sports. Just about covers everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I left one or two out.
That's good. We are delighted to have you here. You get to come back up later and share your wisdom with us. Thank you, Tony. How many of you had leaves fall, limbs fall, even on top of your house or in your backyard or in your driveway or over your car? How many of you own chainsaws? Those of you who had both of those things happen were probably the people that were here yesterday. If you were here yesterday helping us clear the campus of Unity Church of the Hills, would you stand up? We had people here with all sorts of cutting instruments, from pole saws to chainsaws to little bitty saws. Jay Marcunas brought his drone and took pictures of the roof to make sure that nothing had fallen on it. And everybody seemed to have a wonderful time. I got here very early and enjoyed the peace of being here by myself. And then when the first people began to arrive, and by the end of the day, Neil estimates that we had 50 people. And Neil, stand up. Stand up, Neil. Don't sit down yet. Neil was the fourth person to arrive, and when he got out of his car and he had on a bright orange jacket, as so the trees would know not to fall on him. And he had a clipboard, and he walked up to me with the clipboard, and I thought, he's going to tell me what I've already been doing, and he did, and it was wonderful. And you led a super effort yesterday. Let's hear it for Neil. Neil has sent me about 7 emails since then of things that I should tell you about, like the fact that there's plenty of free firewood, and if you want it, talk to Neil about how to take it and take it safely. It's best not to park under a tree that has a dangling limb, but I think we got all of the dangling limbs. But when you're walking, be careful. There may still be some places where you could trip. And there is a lost and found for lumberjack tools on the patio, okay? So with that in mind, thanks to everyone who was here, and thanks to everyone who is here this morning. Jennifer and Roderick are going to lead us in the opening prayer.
Please join me in prayer. Infinite Creator, this morning we awake to a world of blessings, infinite possibilities rich with beauty and color, remembering who we really are, miraculous manifestations of the divine. Remembering where we really are, suspended in pure love and light, nurtured with divine grace, guided, beloved, and sustained. Gifted with all the delight and angst of life, the music of life surrounding us. With grateful and open hearts, we praise the seasons and continuous flow of life. Growth, evolution, healing, wisdom, and restoration in mind, body, family, community, planet, and universe. And for these things and all the possibility of things to come, we say thank you, God, forever. Amen. And I would like to introduce you to Carl Logue, our Inspiration Choir Director. He has a little something to say.
Good morning. As you might have noticed in the little crowd over there that Inspiration is singing this morning. This is the Voices of the Congregation segment. And I thought it'd be useful to give you a little background about me and about Inspiration. I first started attending this church, actually it was the Sunday after my father died in 2008. So I've been here for 15 years now, hard to believe. Linda Herstad and I met very shortly after I started attending here and immediately found out that I was a musician, she was a musician, and we said, wouldn't it be great if we had like a church choir, you know, where the congregation participated? And we toyed with that idea for like a year. It might have even been 2 years. And one day she said, Carl, you want to play for me? And Inspiration was born. And the group has grown, and musically they're just light years ahead of where we were that first time when we all got together and tried to sing the Alleluia chorus and decided, no. But we can do that now. We welcome anybody who has an ear for music, particularly if you have come from a background in your middle school, high school, college days where you sang, whether it's Glee Club or just for the fun of it. We are a 4-part chorus, so it does require that you at least can follow which direction the notes go. But that's really all we look for. Can you match pitch? Can you follow the notes? And I can guide you from there. I think that the chorus can agree with me. I tend to be a bit of a clinician, so every time you're with me, I want to make sure you leave that rehearsal feeling like you've learned something new tonight. And to me, that's actually far more important than the singing we do. The learning that we go through, being able to express yourself, being able to use your body in a different way. It's cleansing. And I just love doing this with the group every week, and I love having them with us. For those who are interested, we're starting rehearsal for our next service, which will be in about 5 weeks. But rehearsals are Wednesday nights, so our next rehearsal is this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We're in Unity Oaks. I forget the name of that room. The Legacy Room. You can't miss us. So if you feel inclined to do so, please join us. If there's any questions, I think some of us are hanging around. So be sure to have a chat with us, and I do hope to see some of you joining us on Wednesday. And here's Tim.
Thank you, Carl. Let me assure you that Reggie is a really nice guy, and he did not plan today's service order with me on the platform a lot. He asked Cindy to do the announcements, and she woke up not feeling too well, so when she texted Reggie, she said, Tim will do it, thinking he would say no, but he said yes. That's right. Join our praying chaplains on the patio in the beautiful weather outside the sanctuary after this service. Together, this is the first Sunday. It says next Sunday, but this is the first Sunday of the month. So it is today. Yeah, it is today. Together we express our gratitude for the many blessings in our lives. A praying chaplain will open this special time together with a few words and close out with a prayer. But the majority of the time is spent hearing from you as you speak your gratitudes into the sacred circle of love, for which we have many gratitudes today, I suspect. We gather together, we connect, share in each other's goodness, and lift each other up. Join us on the patio directly after the service. It happens the first Sunday of every month. Want to get dirty? I'm going to give that a pregnant pause. Then you need to volunteer to be part of the Community Garden Volunteer Team. If you have a green thumb and want to get involved as a volunteer at UCO, don't miss this opportunity to dig in and help keep UCO's garden alive and thriving. Contact Ted Paone for more details. We're accepting clothing in room 203. That's in Unity Oaks. The kids are taking the donated items to Goodwill or other charitable organizations every week. The clothing drive kicked off in January and will continue through March. A love offering with each donation is deeply appreciated. Please take advantage of this opportunity to do some spring cleaning and help someone in need in the process. I've been talking about cleaning out the closet for how long? My side of the closet. Beloved John Camden made his peaceful transition on November 8th in 2022. John Camden has been a beacon of light here at Unity Hills, Church of the Hills, and was an integral part of our community. A celebration of life service will be held on February 18th, 2023 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, of course. Come pay your respects and celebrate the life of John Camden. And now join me in the mission statement. We put God first, celebrate life, serve truth, and empower people to transform their lives.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Inspiration. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I do see some familiar faces out there. It's always good to see all of you, and it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I feel honored to be asked to come and share some thoughts with you today. And as I was preparing, I came across a little video that said to really capture an audience's attention, you want to talk about at least three things right off. And one of them is money, the other one is safety, and the other one is sex. So we're going to talk about those today. No, actually not directly, but what we're going to talk about has an effect on all of them. So I came across another story that really spoke to me this week, and Irvin was driving down the freeway when the cell phone rings, and he answers it, hands-free, of course, and it's his wife, and she says, "Irving, I just heard the news that there's a car going down the freeway in the wrong direction. So please be careful. And he says, yeah, absolutely. Not only, there's not just one, there's hundreds of them. Have you ever felt like you were going down the freeway in the wrong direction? Sometimes in life it does feel that way. But you know, there is a direction in life. There's a direction that the universe has that is a flow for us. And when we're moving along with that flow, it makes life a lot easier, doesn't it? You know, we don't tend to run into quite as much resistance in our experiences in life. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And any of you felt like you've been going down the wrong road at different times? Yeah. Kind of going against the grain. And sometimes that's necessary, but you know, when we find ourselves doing that consistently, that means that there's something going on in our energy field that's putting out an energy that's causing us to experience even more resistance in life. And that resistance usually shows up in some kind of or some form of fear. Now, fear could be considered anxiety or worry. Anybody ever worried about anything? Sometimes people do that, I've noticed. But the reality is that the universe is always trying to move us in a direction that's in our best interest. I'm absolutely convinced of that we're not here to basically to always struggle against the grain, as they say. But there's a flow that we can move into when we allow ourselves, and it takes some work and it does take some practice because we're not really taught that from the time we're little. We're usually taught just the opposite in many ways. Tom Wilson wrote a Ziggy cartoon. It's a comic strip that I always liked, and he says, I think I finally overcame my fear of flying, but now I'm afraid of airport metal detectors. Well, you know, I'm sure there's always something we can find to be fearful of. Did you ever, you remember that commercial some years ago, Got Milk? Yeah, with the mustache, and it shows up on our face, right? Now, well, I'm going to ask the question, got fears? It usually shows up somewhere on our face or in our bodies. And most of the time, fear winds up being in our bodies. So today I'm going to look at a couple of ways that we can and look at possibilities of being more open to being aware of our fears, but not necessarily holding on to them. That's always a bit of a challenge at times. You see, there's a difference between fright and fear. Had you ever thought about that? You know, it's normal and probably very useful to be fearful if you're standing on the edge of a cliff and have fright of going over it. That probably is helpful, wouldn't you agree? It'll keep you a little bit further back from it. There are different situations in life that fright comes into our bodies, and it's there for a purpose. It's to help keep us safe and in these bodies for a little bit longer. Wouldn't you agree? And that's a good thing, wouldn't you? You know, we came into these bodies for a purpose, for a reason, and you know we want to stay a little bit longer. And so, fright is one of the ways that we take care of that, and it helps us to really be more conscious and more aware when we are doing different things in life that could cause some difficulty or some harm. So it's important at times for us to have experience. The difference is, of course, that what happens is when we have a frightful experience in life, that frightful experience oftentimes is stored in our physical bodies. Now, we tend to think that we're just afraid up here, but it goes into our bodies. Have you ever noticed, you know, how many of you have ever done public speaking? Do you know that that's the number one fear that people have is public speaking? Anybody get butterflies when you're asked to public? Yeah. Your body shows up the anxiety and fear, doesn't it? Well, even kind of singing. You know, when you get up, if you're doing a solo, everybody have done a solo rate lately, and you get a little butterflies up there, you know, and it's a way that your body is actually remembering and projecting into the future a frightful situation. So we have a fright, it gets stored in our body, and then we have other experiences that remind us of that frightful experience, and those are our fears. So fear is something that we don't necessarily want to hold on to because it's not happening right here and now. If you're not in the here and now, then you're no longer, if you're in the here and now, your fear is not going to be present. Oftentimes we find that we are not in the here and now. We're somewhere in the past, or we're projecting something from the past into the future. And so our work, I believe, is to move into a place where we're conscious and aware of the fears, but not necessarily being run by them. You see, we think that unconsciously, our ego consciousness basically thinks that if we hold on to the fear, that somehow we're going to be protected from something bad happening in the future. How is that working for you, right? The reality is that fear in and of itself is using the same energy as our imagination and our faith, but it's using it in the wrong direction. We're going down the wrong direction on the freeway. We're holding on to a fear with a thought that somehow that's going to keep us from, that we're going to keep us, it's going to keep us safe somehow. But in reality, it becomes a magnet. And we actually draw to us more of those kinds of experiences that are fearful. And so when we're worried about something, we're actually putting more energy into what we're worrying about than about what we want to truly experience in life. And so part of our healing work, part of our transformative work, part of our spiritual work is to release those things that really are not serving us and move into an energy that radiates outward a sense of peace, a sense of love, of acceptance, of power. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 28, Jesus said, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who destroys both soul and body in hell." Now, the traditional idea of hell, of course, is this place that you go when you've not been very nice, right? But we have a little different understanding about what in unity. And hell is really a belief system that somehow says that we can possibly be separated from the divine. But in unity, we understand that the divine, God, Spirit, is everywhere, is omnipresent. Omnipresent, that's a big word, right? It means it's everywhere present. And we go through life with an understanding, as we practice this understanding, that there's really only the presence of the divine everywhere. Except, remember those exceptions, that we make up? We make up these exceptions. It's God's everywhere except over there, right? Or over here, or in them. But there is no exception in the omnipresence. The Course in Miracles basically said that there are really only two energies. There's love and there's fear. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. And love is the presence of the divine. Paul said that God is love. Jesus said that God is love. And they that abide in love abide in God. We're abiding in the presence of the divine right here and now, in this presence and in this time and in this moment. And when we're not aware of that, or we think that somehow that we can be separated from that, then we experience the energy of going down the freeway the wrong way. Right? And so I've been really working with this idea that a big part of our spiritual work here is to make sure that we're heading in the same direction that the universe is heading, which is in the energy of light and love and peace and power. But it's interesting to me that we spend a lot of time and energy and probably money trying to be fearful. How many of you have gone to a horror movie lately? Not many of you probably. But it's amazing to me how much money is being spent on horror movies. We go to these experiences to try and be to experience fear. Why? Why are we doing this? Or we do something that sometimes is just as bad. We turn on the news. We think it's just as bad because there's an energy in what's being reported that's not necessarily in the flow of the universe. In Matthew chapter 10:29, Jesus said, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father." There is a presence and a power and an energy that is love, and that love is everywhere present, always present, in every circumstance, in every situation, and our work is to peel back the layers that we've created that disguise that from us. It's always there. You know, oftentimes fear is brought up when there's change. Anybody know about change? If you're not in change, you're not. It's true, isn't it? If you're not in somehow experiencing change, but why is it that we always seem to resist change? Well, I'll tell you, our minds, our mental, our brain is basically geared for 2 things. Our brain is actually geared for what's familiar, which it accepts, and really, we like familiar. And then what's unfamiliar. And the moment something unfamiliar comes into our experience, there's automatically a resistance to it. And resistance in itself is basically fear. And we have a tendency to resist what's going on out in the world. We have a tendency to resist all of the circumstances that are going on in our life that we think are causing us this anxiety and this fear. But I'll tell you, one of the things that came to me, it's been a couple of years now, in this very room, was a work that some of you are familiar with called Whatever Arises, Love That. Who was here to hear Matt Kahn when he spoke here a few years ago? It was powerful, and there's something that really spoke to me about that. And one of the things that I began reading his work and began really working with it and praying and listening to what it was trying to teach me. And for the longest time, I thought he was saying, whenever anything happens, just love it. And that's true, but I think he was going even deeper than that. And what he said was, whatever arises, love that. And it occurred to me that what he was referring to is whatever arises in me about what happens out here, love that. Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Many of you know this story. And she spoke to the cells of her body and sent them messages of love and health and wholeness and healing and power. And it really is one of the key things that happened for her that allowed her to experience a healing physically. And I got to thinking about how we sometimes spend so much of our energy trying to resist what's going on out here in the world, and we don't really pay enough attention to what's really going on inside of us, about what's going on here in the world. It's so easy to say it's all about that and all about them and all about all this other stuff out here, but the reality is there's a power that's going on inside of us. I want to read to you something that really spoke to me from Matt's work. What happens if I stop fighting the things that seem to fight with me? And I'm going to change the word fight to resist. What happens if I stop resisting the things that seem to be fighting with me? What happens if instead I try to change the behavior, instead of changing the behavior of others, I become the first one to stop resisting, even if others are still fighting with me? And he goes on to say, this is a powerful mantra, he says, I accept the aspect of self that fights or resists only here to be loved as only I can love. And let me read that again. I accept that the aspect of the self that fights is only here to be loved as only I can love it. And that spoke to me. Because what we have a tendency to do is that we have a tendency to try and get something out here to love us the way we want to be loved. You ever remember that old song, looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many faces? We all do that, don't we? We're trying to get something out there to give us love. But in reality, we are already in that energy of love, and that energy of love is an essence of our being, of our nature. And so there's a saying, Paul said, perfect love casts out fear. I really, really reflected on that quite a bit. Perfect love casts out fear. Now, I'm not going to be so audacious to say that I completely understand perfect love. But I'm pretty sure that Louise Hay had it right, that love doesn't really fully exist unless you also are also loving the self. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is actually do a little exercise with me today. How many of you are willing to do a little exercise with me today? I love it. If you raise your hand, everybody just go, oh, that's great. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to, Tim mentioned that actually one of the things I do is emotional freedom technique. It's a form of psychological, emotional acupuncture, you might say, but it doesn't use needles, so you don't have to be afraid of that, okay? We just do tapping. And so in this exercise, what I'm going to invite you to do is actually just follow me. Keep your eyes open and follow me. And we're going to do a little practice here that I think will help you moving forward to notice, first of all, that you do have fears. We all do in some way. And so bring into mind some small anxiety that you perhaps have dealt with in your life. Doesn't have to be a big thing, just something that, some anxiety that you feel like you've dealt with in life and you're dealing with now. And so as you do that, I'm going to invite you to start tapping on the side of your hand here. And I want you to just notice, while we're tapping, if you can sense or feel a place in your body where that nervousness or that anxiety or that fear seems to reside. Maybe it's a constriction in your breathing. Maybe it's someplace in your chest or your throat, or maybe it's in your back. Sometimes it's in our legs. Sometimes it shows up in different ways in our physical being, because it's been stored there. And so as you begin to tap, I want you to just notice where you notice that, and then from your own heart energy, notice your heart, and see if you can actually now send a little bit of love and heart energy to that place in you. And I want you to, we're going to do a little twist on EFT at this point, and I want you to just simply say, I love you. To that spot in you where you feel the fear. I love you. I love you. And then tap up here on your eye. I love you. And say it out loud. I love you. Now say it to that part of you where it feels the anxiety and fear. I love you. And then I'll go down to under the eye. I love you. Under the nose. Sometimes I have trouble loving you. But I'm willing to love you. Sometimes I don't know how to love you. But I'm willing to love you. And let's go to the collarbone. Sometimes you seem too big and fearful. And I'm willing to love you anyway. Now take a nice deep breath. Now, on a scale of 0 to 10, if before that energy of anxiety and fear was a 10, what would you say it is now? Go ahead and give me a number. 1, 3. How many of you, your anxiety level went down? If you look around. You see, love does cast out fear. And the love that mostly we are trying to experience is an energy that is completing that power of love from the divine by sending love to ourselves. And without that, there's not a complete circuit. It's kind of like an electrical system, you know what I'm saying? There's a power that's always trying to flow through us, but somehow it gets stuck because we're not willing to let it flow through us as love for ourselves. So your homework this week, and probably the rest of our lives, is to continue to let that circuit be complete and allow the energy of love to dissipate those fearful thoughts, those fearful feelings, those fearful energies in our physical body. Now that's my lesson. I assume you're here for a lesson like that as well. So I invite you this time to really spend some positive energy toward healing and loving yourself in your physical body, and as you do that, you're actually healing not only yourself, but I believe, you know that saying, all boats rise together? I believe you're healing the world. And that's our lesson for today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, inspiration. Now that we are centered, it's time to give. And we come into this week after a very interesting time, but we should now give out of the joy of the fact that we are here. Give out of the joy of the fact that, yes, we lost some limbs, but think of how the sun is now going to get to that dead patch of grass that was covered up all those years, and now that patch of grass is going to grow. Think of we lost some limbs, but think of how much you're going to have fun next fall not raking extra leaves. Think of how we lost some power, but didn't it bring you either closer together as a family or made you realize, I don't like these people and it's time for me to leave. Think of that joy that you had this week in the midst of all of our problems, but we are here. It is time to give. It is time to love and come back together. So again, find your joy, lose your fear. Amen. So as the ushers come forth, there are multiple ways you can give. You can give online. You can give via the app. If you've given via the app, there is a card in the pew that you can put your joyous energy on, place it in the basket as we come together in love, fun, fellowship, and offering. So let us say our blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of tears and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with a light, fill us with a light, oh God. Fill us with the light of joy.
We bless this offering and we open our hearts and minds and give thanks, knowing that the Spirit of God is always at work in and through this beautiful spiritual community, and we're grateful for these beautiful gifts to do the will and the work of our master teacher, our way shower, our friend Jesus the Christ, to share that Christ light in and with and through each other and out into our world. And we know that it is increased and multiplied and blessed as we send it forth. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Tony. Connect with a praying chaplain for one-on-one prayer following service in the chapel, or online congregants can call the Silent Unity number. A pre-recorded message will guide you through a series of prompts that will enable you to choose the type of interaction you want to have. Saturday, February 11th, next Saturday, is the day you can step into your power and attend the volunteer empowerment meeting. And you don't have to be raking up leaves or sawing limbs in half or anything like that. It's fun. If you have been considering volunteering here at Unity Church of the Hills, or you'd like to step into a leadership role, don't miss this opportunity. You do not have to be a current volunteer leader or even on a volunteer team to attend. Your 2023 Board of Trustees will be in attendance and won't say very much, and would love the opportunity, I won't anyway, and would love the opportunity to interact with you. Please join us on Saturday, February 11th, next Saturday at 10 a.m. and get involved in the church you love so dearly. Each second and fourth Monday, Paul Hubbard, a lot of letters after his name, sound master ordained, presents holographic sound meditation. First was the Word, sound vibration. From the Word, all things were created, sound into physical manifested form. Using crystal bowls and vocal harmonics, the energy is set for a powerful healing, meditative presence, and experience. Holographic sound is transformational and instrumental in manifesting prosperity, love, joy, happiness, peace, creativity in your life. It's for shifting physical ailments and illness, repatterning emotional belief processes that not serving your highest good, relieving and shifting otherwise stressful times, heightening your spiritual experience and levels reached in meditation, and more. Visit unityhills.org for more details and to register. Remember Inspirations Choir's table in the foyer to learn more, and you can remember to stop by there to, on your way out, get you the opportunity to engage and interact and gain insight into this particular group and to find out how you can get involved and sing. In the process of birth, there is a lot present that has served in the emergence of the new, but whose time it has come to pass. Our own Jean Lean will present next Sunday's lesson with a great title. Is it appearing back there? Yeah, Birth is Messy. Although it's not an especially messy picture of birth. But I got to believe that it is messy. There is that which must be released, which is no longer serving. They say that birth is messy because when transformation occurs, some things arise and some things fall away. If you're not in change, you're not. Indeed. Join Jean Lean as we get the courage to look at that which no longer serves. Let's wave goodbye now to everyone who's been with us online. We're delighted that you were with us. We hope to see you next Sunday, either online or better yet, here in person.